This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk, and tonight we are 100% British, and still, as always, 100% Giants. It's week 2 already. We're back to preview this Sunday's game on the road in Dallas against the Cowboys, who are now without Micah Parsons. You can't help but laugh at that. And obviously, after the dismal start to the season we had this past Sunday, we've got no room for error because we need to get a win in that column because we don't want to start the season 0-2 like we did last year. Joining me to discuss the game, Shane and Aaron. Evening, boys. How are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad. On producer duties today, so I'm going to try and not go off on too much of a tangent train. There is a tangent train segment though at some point. But yeah, sort of look to week 2 and let's face facts, see what shit show brings this week.
Yeah, and week 2 Cowboys. What could possibly go wrong? Now, I did say in the off season the one omen that we have is. Since he's been in the league, Vernon Golston has never been on the losing side in this matchup, and he's changed allegiances. So is that the omen we're all looking for?
Or are we just clutching at straws? Maybe. A little bit. Yeah,
got it. If we had got straws to clutch to, we got nothing else that way.
We've got absolutely nothing then.
It's our own line to the defensive line, can it? So
no, they can't even clutch straws at the moment. So yeah, it's Giants Cowboys is always a spectacle. We won't talk about Giants Cowboys from 2 years ago, will we, Shane? No. Yeah, it's always a good game. And looking forward to it on Sunday. Should be an interesting one because obviously Dallas haven't really had the best start to the season either. Obviously, the end of the preseason was a bit of a shocker with the big Micah Parsons trade. So yeah, maybe they're there for the taking. We'll get into the game in a minute. If you are watching live on,
have the Cowboys lost Micah Parsons, Dan? You ain't mentioned it.
Have they lost Micah Parsons? Oh, I didn't know. Have they? Oh, you got traded to the Packers. Yeah, was it 2 first-round picks and someone else? Maybe. I don't know. We'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah, if you are watching live on YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you're watching, get involved in the comments, send us your questions and your game predictions as well. Get them in the comments. We'll read them out at the end because we'll be calling the game at the end of the show as well. Don't forget to leave us a thumbs up as well. Give this episode a thumbs up, should I say. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Hit the bell to be notified on when we go live. And how many stars they need to leave, Aaron?
5 stars. Unlike our opponents this week, who are a 1-star team.
They are a 1-star team, but we need that 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. We appreciate the love, as always. I'm going to crack on and begin with the news. There's not been much since we were last on air on Tuesday evening. It's just injury news, really, in the lead up to the game. Quarterback Trey Hawkins was waived from injury reserve or an injury settlement, leaving the 2023 draft class looking more and more like a bust, in my opinion. Questions remain, obviously, about Tay Banks and JMS. Jalen Hyatt and Eric Gray have contributed absolutely nothing. Jordan Riley's on the practice squad, and Javarius Owens is now on the Bears practice squad, having been released last year. So, yeah, that 23 draft class isn't looking particularly rosy at this moment in time. Obviously, Banks is now pretty much de facto cornerback 3 after Flott received the lion's share of the snaps on Sunday. in the season opener. Andrew Thomas didn't practice on Wednesday, but that's part of his rehab plan. He's made good progress and will be on the field Thursday and completing team reps. He's currently listed as questionable for the weekend. Michael McFadden, obviously he's not going to play this weekend, and it looks like he could miss substantial time as well, as surgery might be needed, but the Giants, I think, are still working on a timetable and rehab for him. So obviously we wish him the best and wish him a speedy recovery, and God knows we need him back on the field because we're looking pretty thin at linebacker right now. Malik Neighbours, with his back injury, was limited on Wednesday, but he's slated as full practice today. He's again listed as questionable, but I would be very, very surprised if he doesn't go on Sunday. As does Wandale Robinson. He didn't practice yesterday with an ankle, but is back in practice today. And again, should be good for Sunday. And he is also listed as questionable. Why have we got so many injuries this, like, after week 1, for fuck's sake? It's stupid. I mean, I get like people have little niggles and things like that, but this list is just like all of a sudden gone from 0 to 100. I think the only one on the injury report last week was Andrew Thomas, and now it's like, oh, have another 20. Last one on the list, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles with a calf injury, listed was limited in practice and is listed as questionable as well. Whether he goes or not, who knows, remains to be seen. Dallas's injury report yesterday. Cornerback Deron Bland didn't practice and is looking. I think it's listed as questionable, but it's not looking particularly rosy for him. And safety Malik Hooker as well was limited in practice, and it's not necessarily looking good for him either. So there could be a little bit of a couple of little gaps on the Cowboys defense that we could exploit there. And rounding out the news on a bit of a happier note, it isn't injury related. Dexter Lawrence was out of practice on Wednesday for the birth of his child. Congratulations to Sexy Dexy and his family. Some good news finally coming out of Giants camp, and it's a pretty good reason to miss practice yesterday. So congrats to him and his family. That is the news, or should I say the injury report. The latest. Obviously, there's not been an official injury report come out today so far, but when we do get it, we'll bring it to you, because no doubt it'll come out when we're on air. All right then, let's get into the game. Holty go on. Holty says Neighbours plays, but I don't think AT does. Yeah, same. I think the same. Holty. Tangent time, is it, Shane?
Yeah. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. So obviously Dave's had his, I think it was a Zoom press conference he had on Tuesday, I want to say. And it's kind of been noted by a few of the beat writers. He was a little bit more forthcoming with a lot of things he was talking about. He was talking about injuries. He was talking about the Dallas game in a lot more detail than what he kind of previously has done. And quite a few beat writers have picked up on this and kind of says, does Dave's maybe know that, he's under a little bit of pressure, and maybe he's having to readjust how he approaches things and approaches the media, mindful of the fact that kind of, going 0-2 to start the season with Kansas and Philly kind of in front of us, as well as the Chargers, is Dave's not saying so much he's on the hot seat. I think he was under a bit of pressure coming into this season, regardless, because of the last 2 years, and now he's got his quarterback and that. But I just wonder what your guys' thoughts was it on the fact that the way that he was so forthcoming, which is quite unusual for the Brian Daboll we've had in there for 3 years.
Yeah, well, I think the answer what we've got that we were expecting to get from Dave's, or his monologue at the start, is typically something like, week 2, lots of work to do. Any questions? And instead we had the whole, Tom Coughlin style, telling you everything he knows about the opponent, all of the detail, all the things that he's been studying, his relationship with the other coaches and the coordinators and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely a different approach. Is that a sign of him feeling like he has to show something now all of a sudden, rather than be a bit of a recluse, because he realizes the narrative is changing on already after last week's performance, that he's already back on the hot seat?
I don't think he was ever off the hot seat, in all honesty. I think with the Daniel Jones situation in the off season, I think it was inevitable. Obviously, like we let him go towards the end of last season, and obviously the whole Jackson Dart drafting was obviously a hot topic of the off season. But just because you've potentially got your franchise quarterback of the future doesn't mean necessarily the pressure's off in anything. It probably adds to the pressure because we got to see that development of Jackson Dart, and we've got to see the potential that he's supposedly got. And I know we saw glimpses of that in the preseason, but I don't think that pressure, has eased at all. Like since last season, if anything, I think it's stayed there, because when we've spoken and on the face of it, especially with the offense, it's the same offense as it was last year, just with a different quarterback. So it begs the question, and sort of makes you wonder, like, okay, so why is this team this year better than it was last year? Sorry, because Russell Wilson is aging. Is he that stopgap for the time being whilst Dart gets up to speed? Don't know, but I think he needed to change something, and I think people maybe needed to see a different side to him, and maybe somebody's had a word with him and said, like, you kind of need to do a bit more, Dabes, because the pressure is on, and not just the pressure on him, but the pressure on the coordinators as well. Pressure's on Kafka, and pressure's on Shane Bowen as well, because God knows the offense was awful last week. The defensive scheme, like we spoke about, wasn't particularly good either. So yeah, the pressure's on all round, I think, and it's kind of nice to see a little bit, that sort of monologues, like you said at the beginning. It was nice to see him give it a little bit more to the press, but it was very unusual. I must say, it was very, very strange to see him like that. But let's see what happens. Let's see if it makes any difference.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I do wonder is kind of obviously he's off, and I know it's really cliche to say, but he's from that Belichick, Nick Saban coaching tree, and it's really cliche to say, but I do wonder if kind of he come in his first season and felt lucky. At the minute, that's what you got to say. That season was when we made the playoffs. Right now, it's an anomaly. It was just pure luck the way the schedule went, etc. And I do wonder if kind of, after having a bad second season, and then not progressing in the third season, if whether it's Joe Shane, whether it's John Mara, whoever it is, I do wonder if someone maybe turned around and said to him, "Look, you can give Belichick-esque and Nick Saban-esque answers when you've got X amount of natty championships, when you've got X amount of Super Bowls, but when you've done, to be blunt, fuck all for the New York Giants, you've not earned that right to be like that." And I wonder if maybe someone's either said that, or it's a bit of a wake-up call for him in that sense.
Possibly, yeah. And the mad thing, you go back to that first season, he won Coach of the Year. And it's almost like, where has that Daboll gone? Where has that team gone from 3 years ago? Where has that coach gone from 3 years ago? It's like you said, second season, just massive regression, and it's just got worse since. And it raises plenty of questions. But I agree, Shane. I think, like, unless you've got that sort of those rings on your fingers that you can say, look, I'm one of them, and you kind of got to give a bit more than the likes of Belichick and Saban, for sure. And I think he's not quite there yet. He's got a long way to go to get anywhere near them. Put it that way. Anyway, here's a question for you, Aaron. Who looks more in love, Daboll with Dart or Mayo with Cam?
I actually do think it's Daboll with Dart, and that's saying something. There definitely is a big love affair. You just see the way in some of the clips that he's staring at him on the sideline and walking with him and everything else. I think when Dart inevitably does get his chance, you're going to see kind of a lot more relaxed Daboll on the sideline. If something goes wrong on the field, he's going to be, in the same. I don't know if anyone saw the way JJ McCarthy was greeted after throwing an interception and kind of laughing it off and getting him set. I wouldn't be very much surprised to see something like that. But obviously we'll have our Cam Scatterboo conversation later on, and you'll see that the bar is set very high to beat that love.
Yeah, it's a guarantee that that Scatterboo gets mentioned on this pod on pretty much every occasion. So especially when you're here, anyway. There we go. The jersey's behind him.
Just before we go on to the next section, just updated injury report.
There we go.
So kind of pretty much what you said, but we've got 2 new additions on the injury report today. So did not participate. Sorry, was, as you said, Flanagan Fells and Michael McFadden. Limited, like you mentioned, was Robinson and Andrew Thomas, but we also had 2 new additions there, with Nacho being limited due to a foot and Darius Slayton being limited due to his groin. But Malik Neighbours was back in full practice today, so that's the official report as of about 10 minutes ago.
Fantastic. So add wide receiver 2 and DT2 to the injury list. Brilliant. The song "Things Can Only Get Better" comes to mind. Can't get much worse, can it? At this point, before week 2, and we've got this many injuries already. Jesus. All right, let's get on to the game. Our second divisional game in as many weeks sees us go to Jerry World in week 2. Kickoff schedule for 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Dallas lead in the all-time record by a comfortable margin, 77-42 and 2, including postseason games. They kicked off their season last week with a 24-20 loss to the Eagles in their first game without a guy called Micah Parsons. He upped and left and went to Green Bay. I mean, his contract is ludicrous, isn't it? But fully worth it. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to get used to that Green Bay scheme. But I definitely think what we've seen of him in the league so far in his career, he's earned that contract and he got paid big time. So their first game post Micah Parsons, and even though Jalen Carter was ejected from the game before the first snap for spitting on Dak Prescott, which was an absolute disgrace, but you didn't expect anything else from an Eagles player. The Dirty Birds came out on top with the W in the rain-delayed game on Thursday night last week. The Cowboys, they showed ability. I thought they showed ability in both run and pass game. Javonte Williams picked up 2 scores on the ground. Miles Sanders chipped in for 53 yards. Dak Prescott found CeeDee Lamb on 7 of 13 targets for 110 yards, even though CeeDee Lamb had a few drops in there as well, and there was a couple of them that he'd really like to have back. But there is that big hole to fill on defense for Dallas. The disruption that Parsons caused to opposing offenses needs to be addressed, and it's down to the remaining players on the roster to step up quickly. They only registered a single sack in week 1. They got a bit of pressure on Jalen Hurts. I think they had 5 tackles for loss and 5 quarterback hits across the game. So it might not all be lost. But as we said in their injury report, having Deron Bland potentially missing through injury could be a key thing for us, and could be a nice hole to take advantage of. And let's not forget as well, they got first-time head coach Brian Schottenheimer at the helm now. He's only the 10th head coach in Cowboys history. Didn't realise that. In fact, how long they've been around, and he's only head coach number 10. But he's got his work cut out in what looks like could be a tough transitional season in Dallas, and I think that's what everyone's saying. That Dallas are very much in transition at the moment, so we'll see how they get on. But Aaron, what does our offense have to do to beat the Cowboys?
Well, score more points, and I don't know how defense concedes, but more than 6 and getting into the end zone for the first time this season, which is not something we want to be saying on week 2, but has been a common occurrence over the last couple of years. And one of the ways to address that is we need to have a serious improvement in the run game. So the Giants had a league worst 46.7% negative run rate. So 1 in 2 of our runs lost yards. So where, in a run game, you're sort of like, well, 3.5 yards, 4 yards a carry, and you've got a really good run game. Well, you now need 6 yards a carry on your every other carry to overcome your negative runs on every other play. The league kind of average was about 1 in 4 negative plays on the run plays. Instantly, Washington only had 1 negative run play, so shows you what we did on the other end of that sort of thing. And when you're having negative runs, arguably we did the sensible thing. We abandoned the run game almost entirely in the second half. However, that meant we were one-dimensional, and even though the game was a 1-score game right into 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it gave the defense the advantage, knowing that we were going to be throwing the ball. And unfortunately, we had a swinging gate at the left tackle, inviting the opposition to put pressure on Russ. And the one thing that we've seen from Russ is the inability to handle pressure. He's trying to get the ball downfield. He needs them to do the moon ball. You need to give the receivers some time to get downfield. And while I can sit and complain about the O-line and the passing game, the biggest friend to that would be a strong run game, and actually getting that run game going. And we know the Cowboys have gone all in to stop the run. They've got an amazing deal to bring Ryan Clark in as a run stopper, and traded away a higher graded run defender in Micah Parsons. But hey, what do grades know? What do grades mean? So really, it is dependent on the O-line improving. It depends on committing to the run, scheming up a better run game. And one of the things that's still at this stage, we've had a limited practice today from him, but Andrew Thomas is going to go into the weekend questionable. And I'd argue that as long as he can physically put weight on it, he's got to be better than what Hudson showed us last week. And even if he starts and has to come out, can't do a full game, I'd rather him on from drive 1 and play the first couple of drives, and then rest him, especially if you're worried about ramping him up, than go with Hudson and end up 2 scores down and the game's gone, right? And we can't run and everything else. So play action can then come off our run game. That's where we can maybe take advantage of Darius Slayton, a guy who I think ran 1,000 yards in the game last week for a single target. Was open at times, but wasn't available to get the ball to him. And this all comes against the Cowboys D line that all posted a sub 65 grade in passing from PFF against a QB that held the ball for a league highest 3.5 seconds last week, which eventually led to some pressures, so that a lot of their pressures that they achieved last week was down to Jalen Hurts holding the ball for forever, rather than having an excellent pass rush. Because if you've got an average time to throw of 3.5 seconds and you're only getting a few pressures, that tells me that the pass rush wasn't particularly fantastic. The Giants are going to have to find a way to deal with Micah Parsons. Oh, wait. We have to do that for week 11, not this week. Forgot about that. So really he's getting that thing. And one of the ways that we can help the run, maybe fresh off winning his Angry Runs scepter on his very first handling of the ball this season, Cam Scatterboot might get more work than his 8 snaps from this past week, and we did expect Tyrone Tracy to lead the backfield, but maybe we didn't expect him to get a 74% snap share. We sort of saw this as a committee backfield, and maybe that we'll see something that. And of that committee, it was 74-15 for Singletary and 12% for Scatterboo. So the shift may be something more like 60 to Tracy, 30 to Scatterboo, 10 to Singletary. This is maybe something that I'd like to see this week and see that shift of the balance. I'm not saying that Tracy's going to lose the number one spot, but maybe that workload gets shared out a bit more. And a bit more volume as well, the rising tide and all that kind of stuff. And one final point from me, looking back at the game from last week, actually Daniel Bellinger had a quietly good game, and he was a guy that we talked about was a cut candidate, has obviously survived that. Manhertz and Theo Johnson didn't have a particularly good game, so Manhertz was there for his blocking. Theo Johnson there for the receiving side. And actually, if we're going to play two tight ends, maybe Bellinger gets on the field more because he can do the blocking and he can do the receiving. And maybe that's the answer for the game. But, a couple of points there. But really, it all comes to, I think if we see a development in the run game, we may suddenly see a much better O-line and a much better performance from the offense. If we don't see an improvement in that run game, I might be off to my all-inclusive bar in Egypt and stop watching the game this Sunday fairly early.
I'm a little bit jealous, not going to lie. All-inclusive bar. I'd love an all-inclusive bar right now. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more of Dan Bellinger as well. I think that's a great point. One thing I think we need to see more of on offense, I mean, that's kind of obvious, really. Red zone. Get the ball in the end zone. However you do it, I don't care. However you do it, I don't care. 13 plays inside the Washington 20-yard line last week, and we settled for 2 field goals. For me, it comes down to play calling. I know there's the odd occasion they try to be fancy, try to, a little trick play here or there, but just especially if you got it at the 1 yard line, we had 7 attempts from the 1 yard line and we still didn't get it in. Just whatever you do, just get the ball in the end zone. We need that offensive line to step up and just create a hole that somebody can sneak through. A Cam Scatterboo can sneak through with his burst and his power. Tracy, Devin Singletary's there as well. All 3 of them are more than capable. And I think looking for mismatches in coverage if they're looking to throw the ball. Use Neighbours to draw defenders away. Use Slayton to draw for defenders away. Get some guys in there that aren't necessarily going to be those big targets. Maybe bring in the likes of Bo Collins, even just to sort of do something different. But also, if we're going to be in a sort of a jumbo package with tight ends on the either end of the line, use one of them. Use like Chris Manhertz coming off the block, or use Dan Bellinger coming off the block even. And look to target those 2 in the end zone as well, rather than looking for your main weapons every time, because it's just going to get far too predictable far too quickly. Whichever way we do it, we have to be better inside the 20. It's plain and simple. It's not good enough to not score from inside the 20. I think last year we had a 44% success rate in the red zone, which was dead last in the league. And it was the same last week, so we've got to see an improvement this week against Dallas, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the alternative for even last week there was the example inside the red zone. Who was the target to for the Commanders? Oh, the big tight end Zach Ertz. Oh, the receiver on an end around play with a bit of trickeration to open them, and a massive hold, I should say, on Abdul Carter that should have been flagged, but never mind. But you look at who we were targeting. There was a couple of targets for our smallest target on the field in one day. Well, most teams go for a big target in the end zone. Whereas, obviously he wasn't active, but Thomas Fedoni, that was some of the bringing him along and everything else. Little Jordan Humphrey, who we cut, is obviously Lil is a ironic Little, and he's another big target.
Does Marcus Bouquet as a big target, Aaron?
Well, that's what I'm sort of saying. Like, why isn't that Thomas Fedoni? Why isn't that Manhurts leaking out and being the block? I know you're trying to get cute with the extra lineman and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it just didn't. And also, if you watch that play pre-snap, if I'm a defender watching them out, the amount of extra communication, it clearly wasn't a run up the gut that was coming. It was clearly something else that was coming. And I would have, my spidey senses would have been going off as a defender when I see an offense come out. Why are they coming out so? It was a long play call and a lot. Yeah, come on, guys. These are pros. We're not playing Brit ball anymore.
No offense to the Brit ball guys.
I played.
Shout out to your Bristol Aztecs, Aaron.
Yeah, national champions. Yeah, for the first time beating the London Warriors in the final. So yeah, but yeah, go down to Division 2 and a lovely game against the Cornwall Monarchs, and you'll see some high quality Brit ball in Division 2 across the country. Bit like Sunday League football. Some people actually think it's where the real sort of sport actually is, but we all know that you're going to see a big tackle or a bit of physicality that rather than a bit of quality.
Nice. I mean, we just have to do better on offense. It's plain and simple. We have to score at the end of the day. If we don't score, we haven't got a chance of winning this game. All right, let's move on to defense then. Shane, key to the win. What we've got to do?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I've noted for the defense. So my first point is going to be for the cornerbacks to step up this week. Now, whilst in week 1 we did keep Terry McLaurin pretty quiet, he only had 2 catches for 27 yards and 0 touchdowns. We did kind of get away with a poor Jaden Daniels throw that McLaurin would certainly have took to the house. And then Deebo Samuel, he had a little bit more success, 7 catches for 77 yards, but also 0 touchdowns. But this week we're up against 2 very good young wide receivers and potentially maybe the 2, just trying to wrap my brains, maybe the best 1-2 in the NFL at the minute in terms of how young they are and the potential they've got in CD Lamb and George Pickens. I think it was a great trade made by Dallas for that. I think, was it a 3rd and a 6th for Pickens and a 7th for something stupid like that, or 3rd and a 5th for Pickens and a 6th. So, we're up against kind of two really good young wide receivers, and obviously they're in our division as well. Now, against Philadelphia, CD lined up in the slot for 19 of his 56 snaps, with 36 of those being on the outside. So you can expect to see CD Lamb moving around quite a bit. He's going to be on the outside. He's going to be in the slot. And it's going to be interesting to see how exactly Paulson Adebo is used this week with that in mind. Because obviously, week 1 against Washington, Adebo travelled with Terry McLaurin. It's something he's not accustomed to, having previously with the New Orleans Saints. He predominantly played, I think it was left cornerback. So, it was kind of a new one for him, so to speak, on Sunday, like kind of travelling with their number 1. But with CD being their number 1 and kind of being in the slot on the outside, it's going to be interesting to see whether he travels with him or not. And, it's also going to be an interesting test for Drew Phillips if he covers Lamb when he moves into the slot. Obviously, Drew had a good rookie year. He had some good moments on Sunday, that tackle that he made on Samuel on a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. I think he might have been. He tackled him beyond the downs. That was a great play. But he did also have a couple of missed tackles as well. So if he does end up covering CD in the slot, it's probably going to be one of the toughest tests that he's had in his short NFL career. So, and then in regards to CB2, now Flott Banks, it looks like Flott's gonna kind of get the edge, and he's gonna have a tough task covering George Pickens. He lined up for 51 of his 56 snaps on outside, so Pickens is there predominantly as kind of a boundary man, playing on the outside consistently. And we've only ever come up against George Pickens once, and that was in October last year, and we held him to 5 catches to 74 yards and 0 touchdowns. Then the next point I've got is stopping the run. Now, in week 1, Washington ran for 220 yards, not 22 yards, not averaging 2.2 yards, 222. Now, okay, Daniels did account for 68 of those, but if you remove them 68, quick maths, it's still 152 yards, which is still far too much. And it's not like Washington have got stud running backs. You've got the rookie, Krosky Merritt, who, face facts, most people don't even know who he is. I think his nickname's Bill, like Bill Krosky Merritt, and that I only heard about that like about 2 days after the game. And they've got an aging Austin Eckler. Now Dallas didn't light the ground game up in week 1. That totaled 119 yards, but they've got a fit and healthy Javonte Williams, who had 15 carries for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Miles Sanders, who just on 4 carries rushed for 53 yards. Now, speaking of Miles Sanders, in 8 games against the Giants, he's had 85 carries for 473 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. So, this is a man who tends to have relative success against the New York Giants and a poor run defense that we've got as well. So the aim here is 2 things: win the trenches and in turn stop the run game. What you can't afford to do is the offense to be dog shit again, like it was on Sunday, and then Dallas gets the lead, and then they just run the ball down our throats and just kill the time on the clock. And before you know it, we're going into the 4th quarter, and Dallas are taking kind of 7-8 minutes of time off the clock, and you're down 2 scores. I thought on Sunday the defense played well enough. I'd like to think that if you're holding an NFL team to 21 points, you're looking at that going, we've got a good chance of winning this, and we didn't on Sunday. So I think the defense, much like they did at times last year, they played okay on Sunday. Didn't light it up, didn't ball out, but I think they held Washington in check enough for the offense to have done something. And we need the same again, but this week we need the offense to step up, as Aaron has covered already.
Yeah, exactly. And just touching on Javonte Williams, obviously, I think 15 carries for 54 yards, 2 touchdowns. You think 54 yards on the ground is not a huge amount, but it's 3.6 yards a carry. It's what you need to move the chains. And if he get punched in the end zone twice, job done. His longest run was 11 yards. That's what you need from a running back. That's what we need from Tracy this week. That's what we need from Singletary and from Scatterby. It's just that consistent 3.5, 4 yards a carry, every down. And I think one of the playmakers to look out for as well, we always tend to give up touchdowns to tight ends against Dallas. Jake Ferguson, I think watch out for him because he's going to be a tricky one. 5 catches for 23 yards he had against the Eagles on Thursday last week. Personally, I think obviously with Micah McFadden being out for the foreseeable future, it's time for Darius Musow to step up. We need him to step up big time. Last week when he came into the game, he didn't have the best start. He gave up the touchdown fairly early on after taking the field. He posted the lowest PFF grade of all Giants defenders in week 1 and the 3rd lowest amongst all linebackers in the entire league in week 1. And granted, he may not have been expecting to take the field so early, but anything can happen. Any given time, it's that sort of next man up. And he's predominantly been used on special teams last season, but he faces the big task of replacing Micah McFadden because at the moment he's kind of the only option. Yes, we have potentially the likes of Abdul Carter to sit back there and replace him, even Chris Board as well. But I think replacing a key defender this early in the season is going to be a huge task. And considering we've got 2 games following this weekend against Kansas City and against the Chargers, he needs to get up to speed really quickly against what, let's face it, what is a less formidable offense in Dallas. If he can't get it right this week, then it's going to be a big struggle against the Chiefs and the Chargers in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, Darius Musa needs to show why we drafted him in the 6th round last year, and then we need to see a big performance from him this weekend.
I think it's fair to say as well, if you've got a Dallas running back or tight end in fantasy football, you're going to fancy him in your starting lineup this week.
Yeah, you would fancy him, wouldn't you? You really would. We can't stop the run, and we give up tight ends to touchdowns. Touchdowns to tight ends. We did last week. Zach Ertz. Plain and simple. And for whatever reason, we can't cover tight ends. We can never cover tight ends. And this goes back as far as I remember. So yeah, it's going to be a big ask for this defense. Dak Prescott is Dak Prescott. He doesn't set the world alight, but he's fairly consistent in his play, and the Cowboys have a few weapons on that offense that are going to be dangerous, and we're going to come up against a tough team on Sunday in Texas, and I think it's going to be a difficult game. On that note, shall we do some predictions?
We am, but I'm bringing a new segment to the podcast.
Oh,
so
hello.
I just thought a little bit of fun between the 5 of us. It will probably look a little bit better when the graphic guru, producer Craig, is back. But I thought what we'd do is we'd just have a look and track our season predictions so far as we go by each week. Just to track, see how well we're going. So obviously, as you can see there, Kev, Aaron, and Craig all predicted a Giants win in week 1. Myself and Dan, begrudgingly, might be the best word, picked a Washington win, and obviously got it right. So myself and Dan are 1-1. The other 3 guys are 0-1. I just thought, to be a little bit of, adds a minute or 2 into the podcast, create a little bit of banter between us, and
Nice.
it's just a fun way to kind of track.
I would like to say, though, I think my prediction should have been void because I thought Andrew Thomas was playing, and that was
We all thought Andrew Thomas was playing.
Yeah, that just changed that changed the line so much for me. That's like a 15-point handicap.
We're not talking handicaps. We're talking straight up win or loss here. We're not looking at spreads. We're looking at, are we going to win or are we going to lose?
Yeah, but the spread went from a positive to a negative, so that's across the money line. So it was, losing Andrew Thomas.
Did it? We were never favourites last week against Washington. Come on.
So anyway, yeah, that's just something we'll do. Like I say, it might look a little bit more graphic intense when Craig comes back and sees this and watches it back, and you might think, Shane, what have you done? That's just like cheap, and might come up with a fancy table, or it might just stay down there, simple, clean, not over on the screen.
Looks spot on to me, mate. Looks good, especially with 1 in the win column.
Could be the Giants' record next week, 1-1.
Could be the Giants' record next week.
Let's find out what we're all fancying this week.
Go on then. You got Kev's prediction?
Oh shit! Yeah, it's me doing this. Sorry, bear with me. My bad. I've remembered to bring the graphics up, but I forgot to see what the score. Yeah, so Kev's up first then. Obviously, Kev last week picked a New York Giants win, and this week Kev is again picking a New York Giants win. He got Giants to win 24-17. So Kev, hoping we can kind of bet back this week.
Ever the optimist.
Someone's got to be.
Kev.
Someone's got to be. At least I definitely will be. And I feel like I'm rubbing off on you, not in that kind of way, but you're getting used to more kind of negative moments, Dan. And you kind of.
Don't know. We'll see in my prediction, won't we? We'll see.
That's what it was. But the next one, Aaron. You said Andrew Thomas, if he'd have played last week, you'd have gone for Dallas to win. Not Dallas to win, sorry, Washington to win.
Yeah, it would have moved the line by about 4.5 points for me.
Okay, so what you're predicting this weekend, does that change if Thomas was not to play again?
Is there a caveat here?
Yeah, if Thomas doesn't start, I think it would change my number. So my number is based on Andrew
There are no
Thomas
caveats. It's win or lose.
absolutely playing. I believe I've gone for a Giants 21-17 victory. 2017 victory, yeah. 2 field goals, not a missed extra point. That was it. 20-17. So yeah, low scoring game, defensive battle, offensive ineptitude plus our defense. Maybe even we only get one offensive touchdown, and number 51 has a game-changing play that leads to a defensive score.
If he does Shane have his shades on Wednesday.
I'll do the entire episode with my shades on.
Hold you to that. All right, then Craig's prediction.
Quick one for you, Aaron. So obviously, kind of what we saw in week 1. Let's say Andrew Thomas does come back. Do you think we win the game, or do you think Dallas loses the game? If you get what I'm saying.
That's a good question. That.
So what if week 1 we have?
Yeah, but with week 1 in mind, we know what we know about week 1 and kind of how putrid we were in the red zone. I'm just wondering, do you think we win this game, or do you think Dallas loses the game?
I just think that both teams have got issues. I think again I think our defense has room to grow from what we saw last week. I think they're still bedding in the scheme a little bit. I think the fact that we have a static quarterback this week rather than a guy that we've always got to have a spy on, I think then lets our D-line pin their ears back a bit more, or at least let Shane Bowen be a more aggressive play for a more static quarterback, and that plays more into our strength. So I think we will see an improvement from our defense, and then it can't be as bad from our offensive line again this week, especially if Andrew Thomas is in there. And I know there was a lot of problems in the interior and everything else, but again, if you then go right, we've shored up our right hand side. Actually wasn't too bad in pass pro. It was the fact that Hudson was so bad on the left in pass pro that it was just unbearable. And if we can improve that to the level, not even at Pro Bowl Andrew Thomas level, just mid-range NFL starter Andrew Thomas, who hasn't played many games in the last 2 years, I actually think that if you go back to the original question, that it will be us winning the game rather than Dallas losing it.
Interesting. What do you reckon, Shane? Well, we'll talk about when it comes to your prediction. There we go.
Okay, yeah. So far, Kev last week had a Giants to win. Gone Giants again this week. Aaron last week, Giants to win. Giants again this week. Craig last week, Giants to win. Is he keeping up the trend? He's not.
He's not.
Craig has Dallas winning.
Wow.
I just need to double check, make sure I've read that right. I have been on night, so I need to make sure. Yeah, he's had Cowboys 28, the New York Giants 17. So Craig sitting off on Sunday to go, nah, fuck that. I'm not backing them again this week in predictions.
Interesting. I thought Craig would have gone Giants win. I thought he would have stuck faith.
So next,
it's me now.
Dan, tell us if is Craig potentially lone wolf in this week?
Look, I think on paper the start to the season, I think it was tough, very tough. Last week we didn't show up. Dallas, like I said, they're in that transition period. They look dangerous at times against the reigning champs, the Eagles, and they pushed them. They pushed them all the way in that game. And I think we need to improve so drastically on offense compared to last week that I'm not sure whether we can do enough improvement, because I think Dallas will score points on us. They've got enough weapons and playmakers to score points on us. Their offensive line is traditionally pretty solid, and it still is pretty solid. I think we do see some improvements. I think we, like you said, Aaron, the fact that we don't have that mobile quarterback, although Dak he's not quite a Jaden Daniels. He doesn't tend to use his legs too much, and he's prone to making a few mistakes here or there. I think we get our first interception of the season this weekend. Whether it goes to the house or not, who knows? But I do think we make some improvements, but I don't think it's enough. I've gone for a Cowboys 19-13 win.
So
I think Dallas wins the game rather than we lose it.
So not nicely poised here, two apiece. Kevin, Aaron, sticking loyal to the Giants. Craig joining Dan in Goof the opposition this week. For myself, I think there's kind of only one result in my opinion, and I think that when you look at how poor we were on Sunday, how awful we were in the red zone, and I think Dallas were unlucky not to get the dub last week against Philly. I think that played well. I think that Prescott is, I don't want to get saying underrated, but I think he gets some unfair stick at times, to be fair to Dak. Like, I'm not saying he's a top 8 QB, but I think he's a solid quarterback, and I think he just gets some unfair criticism at times. And going off on a tangent a little bit here, the work he does off the field as well. I have immense respect for Dak Prescott, some of the charity stuff he does.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to on the field stuff, like I say, how poor we was week one, how close Dallas was to beating the reigning Super Bowl champions last Thursday night. There's only one result for me, and that's Dallas winning 24-10. I did change this from 24-17. I had 24-17, and then I kind of had a word with myself. And we're not getting 2 touchdowns.
17 points. You're having a laugh.
Yeah, so I dropped it down to 10.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. Like I thought as well. Like, how much? The first thing I wanted, how much do we score on Sunday? How many points do we score? And I thought, I think we score a touchdown and then 2 field goals. I think that's kind of all we get. And it's not. It won't be hard for Dallas to score more than 13. It really won't be.
No, and with that in mind,
let's not forget they've got Brandon Aubrey as their kicker as well, who's probably kicker 1 in the league at the moment, right?
I think it's easier as well. If you shut down Malik Neighbours, you more than likely shut down our passing game, in my opinion. I don't think that the next guy up, Slayton Robinson, is anywhere near the level that Malik Neighbours is, and I think a lot of Giants fans would agree with that. And then if you look at the other side of the across the pitch and look at Dallas's wide receivers, if you lock down CD Lamb, you've also got to try and stop George Pickens. And I don't know what the constraints was in terms of the trade for George Pickens and a potential contract and that. But when I looked the other day at what George Pickens went for, I was like, I wish we'd gone for George Pickens, because having a George Pickens opposite Malik Neighbours would have just give us another option. Because I love Slayton. I'm a massive Darius Slayton fan. I've been ever since he got drafted. I think he's had some unfair criticism through the years, but he's just not at the level of a George Pickens. He's like George Pickens is a solid wide receiver 2, flashes wide receiver 1 at times. Darius Slayton, in my opinion, is a solid wide receiver 2, shows wide receiver 3 at times, in all honesty.
Yeah, so the George Pickens trade, just instantly. So the Steelers sent George Pickens plus a 2027 6th-round pick. And then in return, the Steelers got a 2026 3rd and a 2027 5th. So essentially, pick swap in 27 and a 3rd-round pick. I would have given that up for George Pickens.
Meanwhile, we're wasting 3rd-round picks on Jalen Hyatt, who we decided to dress and not even use and not trade when we get trade offers.
And has done absolutely nothing in the last 2 years.
That's a tangent train for next week's spoiler.
Just one thing and maybe I'll do a bold prediction here.
Oh, hello.
And so the only tackle that put in a very similar, or offensive lineman that put in a very similar passing grade performance to Hudson was one Tyler Guyton on the Dallas Cowboys. So I do think pairing the less mobile QB, although I agree with you, Shane, he's underrated as a quarterback, and I've got him in a few of my fantasy teams as a guy that, especially in leagues that reward 6-point passing touchdowns, because he is a guy that can be a 4,000-yard passer. But they play into where we've strengthened. So we've strengthened in the secondary, we've strengthened on the D-line. And if they've got a weakness at the D-line, maybe we could walk out of this game with 6 total sacks of Dak Prescott. And that is where I think we can, if we can get sacks, like when the problem was last Sunday, we got some sacks and then we gave up a big play afterwards. That usually a sack is like a drive killer, and we gave up a big, we sacked the quarterback, and the next play give up the first down on a 16-yard reception.
Yeah, we spoke about this on Tuesday, Aaron, didn't we?
Yeah. So I think if that's where we can now go, we can get the sack and then we can play aggressive on the next play because we're not worried about the quarterback running. I think that's where we can really make the difference in this game. And yes, okay, we might be inefficient on offense, but if we're turning the ball over, winning the field position battle, I think that's where we can make the difference. And maybe we see a bit more of 44, with those impact runs, running some Cowboys over and lighting up getting the sideline excited and pumped, and maybe that little bit of juice is enough to carry the game.
Possibly. And one thing I do want to see on defense as well, the fact that there is this little bit of a weakness in Tyler Guyton. Why last week against Washington we saw Dex, Burns, Carter and Tibbs all on the field at the same time on 8 out of 65 snaps. 8 out of 65 snaps. A 12% snap count that all 4 of them were on the field. Let's see more of that. Thanks to Doug Analytics for that, by the way. If you haven't seen that, those stats that he put up, check them out. It's quite interesting. But yeah, 8 out of 65 snaps. We saw all 4 of them on the field. Let's see some more of that. Let's see, bring the pressure. Bring the pressure, especially to Tyler Guyton, because if we can exploit that, we might have a chance. We might have a chance if we can disrupt the offense.
Do the chat agree with me, Shane, or do they agree with you and Dan?
So I think Holt's left the station. He's gone for 33-3 Dallas.
I mean,
he's fully chucked it in this season already, I think.
Wow.
He's captaining the tank train.
We've got Brewer. Apologies if I'm butchering that name, mate. He's got Giants 24, Dallas 21. And he follows that up by saying, in his opinion, the Giants will have to run a very conservative offense, and that would rely on eating up the clock and ball control, split back sets, power sets, and double tight end with 2 wide receivers. Bit like the old school offense in the 80s. And the defense will need turnovers and a few sacks to make opposing offense speed up and be out of rhythm. And he follows that up by saying that he thinks Dallas loses the game and most of our points will be from defense and the game-winning field goal at the end.
I mean, I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. I mean, I'll be happily proven wrong in my score prediction this week. And
then Chris has got 21-17 Giants.
There's some love for the Giants in the comments. That's not cool.
Then just a shout out to Working Man. Dolphins fan by the looks on it.
Yes, your Dolphins do suck.
Well, they did make Daniel Jones look like the best quarterback in the league, didn't they? So.
He's got 14-0 Dallas.
Wow. I mean,
no touchdowns again for us. No, I don't like that one.
No, I don't like that either. But the fact is, Dallas have won 8 straight against us. We've got to go back to 2016 for the last time we beat Dallas.
Which just tells us we're due. We're due. It's our turn.
Maybe we said the same last year.
The year
before that.
I did it.
And the year before that.
And do you know where this goes?
Yeah. We've got to go back to 2016 for our last win in Dallas.
Yeah.
So it's 9 years. 9 years since our last win in Dallas. I mean, you would like to think it is due, but I don't know. We'll see on Sunday.
We're 3-18 in our last 21 games. So last 21 games. So yeah,
that's a stat in itself, isn't it? Wow. On that note, it's time to call it an end. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. We'll be back on Wednesday next week at the slightly later time of 9 p.m, not 8:30, 9 p.m. next Wednesday. So make sure you tune in then to review that game. And again, like I said, let's hope that 3 of us are proven wrong and we get that all-important first win of the season. Anything else to add before we go, guys?
That just, me and Dan last week predicted Giants to lose, and Craig's jumped on it this week. Obviously, it's just how we feel the game's going to go. But, all 3 of us still, hope we're proven wrong, hope the Giants can get the win. That's the most important thing, get the first dub on the season. And then just one thing I just wanted to very quickly mention, to remind us, Sunday, October the 26th, from 4 p.m. till late, in conjunction with the UK Giants Facebook group. We've got our meet-up to watch the Giants take on the dirty Philadelphia Eagles at Belushi's London Bridge. I think myself, Mayo, and Craig are all in the same hotel. Dan, I don't know if you've booked anything yet.
I haven't yet, but I will be.
I don't know what.
It'll be the same hotel.
And then I know a few guys in the chat as well. I think they're staying in the same hotel. That Aaron, correct me, is it just like a 2-minute walk from Belushi's?
Yeah, literally just two doors down, I think.
Winner. No excuse to not stay out late then. Will we be celebrating, or will we be drowning our sorrows? Hopefully, we'll be celebrating.
Maybe it's the tie that I've predicted this season happens on that game. So, and then what do? Do you celebrate? Do you commiserate? I don't know. I don't really like a tie. It's like kissing your sister, isn't it?
You just sit there and wonder what the hell's happened.
Yeah.
I bet it's oil kissing your sister.
Both. Both. What the hell's happened?
We have to
anything to mate?
No, just hoping I can get a decent Wi-Fi signal in my hotel and watch the game. But yeah, enjoy the podcast over the next couple of weeks, and I'll be back in 10 or days time or something to, when we're back above 500.
You mean you're not coming on from Egypt? Come on.
I mean, you could probably twist my arm if I get the Wi-Fi signal. You know me, I'll be there. But
priorities and all that. Enjoy your holiday, mate.
Yeah.
That'd be a sight, wouldn't it? But I enjoy your holiday, man. I'm sure it's well deserved. And I bet you're looking forward to having a nice little break and switching everything off, although not necessarily the Giants.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'll definitely be following. Spending all day on a sun lounger with setting me fantasy lineups. A bit more time doing fantasy lineups. You watch, I'll be getting W's across the board, winning, getting the top waivers, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's me versus you this week in one of our leagues. So
unlucky.
It's looking quite tight at the moment in terms of predicted scores. So let's see come Monday who comes out on top, eh? Yeah. Who's 1-0 at the moment in that? Watch out this weekend. So looking forward to the game. Obviously, we all want a Giants win. Let's face it, we are all Giants fans through and through. We do want the team to win. We do want the teams to do well. But as it stands at the moment, the three of us have obviously predicted the Cowboys win. We don't want to see Dallas win on Sunday. It's just how we're feeling and what we're thinking about, like you said, Shane. And we can just hope. We have hope that Big Blue do come out with a win on Sunday. And at least we'll then have something good to talk about on Wednesday, right, Shane? Rather than it being a therapy session number 2 this early in the season. Check out all our socials for the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we're at on what social platforms are on. Like I said at the beginning, give this show a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and all that lovely stuff as well. Thanks to everyone watching and listening for your comments this evening. As usual, we appreciate you all getting involved. Herbie, thanks for tuning in. Holty, thanks for tuning in. Working Man, thanks for tuning in. Darter's better than Russ and Prescott. We'll see. Chris, thanks for tuning in as well. And everyone else as well for getting in the comments. We appreciate all the love and support. My thanks as ever go to Shane and Aaron for joining me. We're signing off until next time. Let's go Giants.